Hello again, this is Eric Sfiligoj, editor of CropLife magazine. Welcome to another edition of CropLife Retail Week. Here today again with my new partner, Richard Jones. Richard, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, Eric. How are you?
I am good. Been a traveling fool, but we will get to that in this video, I promise. But first and foremost, of course, as we're recording this, we've just gotten word, of course, that the long anticipated Russian invasion of the Ukraine is actually taking place. And I know that there has been nonstop news regarding that since the news broke a little bit earlier this morning. But I know it sounds like a very messy situation. And I know that based on what I'm hearing from folks, the leaders of the free world, the United States, Europe, condemnation for Russia all around, but President Putin of Russia doesn't seem to mind at the moment.
Yeah, this is obviously a complex situation that just has so many tentacles that go out into all different areas of everything that we do, and really most importantly for us, obviously, including agriculture. So
right, I know some of my friends, when this was all being talked about a couple of like a week and a half ago, they're like, well, should we really care about the Ukraine? And like, maybe the average citizen may not really be that concerned, but from the agricultural standpoint, I mean, they're talking sanctions will be on Russia, will be sort of the way we push back and show our displeasure with the invasion. But Russia is actually a very, very major player in agriculture, particularly for the crop nutrient side of things. I know that Joss Linville from StoneX, when I heard him talk earlier this year, he shared some slides regarding Russia and what percentage of crop nutrient imports we get from their country each year. And for UAN in particular, 42% of what we use in the US comes from Russia.
wow.
And for urea, dry urea, it's 14.7% that comes from Russia. So again, obviously if there's going to be sanctions put in place, you imagine those imports will not be made available. And Richard, actually going a little deeper, potash, world supply wise, Russia accounts for 19% of the world supply of potash. And their partner in this invasion, I guess, is Belarus, which is another 15%. And you couple that with the 9% that China had represented historically, which they have now put a hold on shipping out any of their potash through the end of June, I believe. And you're looking at 43% of the world's potash supply, which is not going to be made available here in the spring. So again, and we've been already talking about high fertilizer prices. I'm sure this is sure to when you get the new numbers coming out on some of these products like UAN and urea and potash, their costs per ton is going to be much higher than it was just a week ago, I suspect.
It seems like every week brings a new unpleasant surprise on the cost factor for that angle. And then just thinking about the impact on the energy supply around the world with this situation, we're in for another wild ride, I think.
Yeah, unfortunately. So yeah, we'll have to be watching this, and who knows, in a future video, I'm sure we'll have an update on what some of the fertilizer numbers are looking like. But yeah, going into the spring season, the timing could not be worse.
And definitely something we're also watching closely with our sister publication, Agribusiness Global, which
right.
will be covering that as well.
Yep, indeed. So as I promised at the beginning of the video, I actually have been on the road. This week I was attending the EFC Systems Summit, which was taking place in Nashville. And the folks there, they usually hold this event every year. They didn't during the COVID time, but they draw about 200 people, Richard, to that event. And, they talk a lot about their products, their offerings to their customers, obviously, but they also have very good informational tracks as well. So I'll share some of the information from that here in a couple of minutes. But the one big bit of news that dropped was EFC Systems, President Ernie Chappell, who was also the founder. He had an announcement at the meeting that his organization and a couple of other groups we're getting together to form a new entity called EverAg. And here's a clip of Ernie talking about the formation of EverAg and what that's going to do for the marketplace.
Here's another piece of news. You heard it here first. So at 12 o'clock today, a press release will go out. The dairy.com, EverAg, and EFC Systems have come together and formed a very powerful, strong ag tech company. We're about a third of the size, EFC, so we're 150 employees, and this is being announced now, so you'll see a press release. The company name is EverAg, and that is the new logo, so you're literally the first to see it. The world won't know about this for another hour. And here's the magic. It's led by existing founders and principals of the company, so I'm excited about this. So if you see the trend of the last 10 years, what would you say? It's like deliberate, right? All of this has been deliberate. This has been worked on for a long time. You heard our announcement last fall, which was really the elimination of reverse ownership and freedom to operate. Neutrality is very powerful, and this just takes it to the next level. This group now supports a broader range than just EFC, so dairy, livestock, crops, agribusiness. You know, it's all about this broad ecosystem to feed the world, really. So I think this is really going to expand options for our existing clients and open markets for us. So this was an action taken by me and deliberately done. The step last November and now this. And so really excited about it.
So that's what Ernie had to say, Richard. As you could tell, the people in attendance were kind enough to applaud when he announced it, and they sent out a press release shortly after the meeting. But we were there to hear the announcement made live and share it with our viewers. So yeah, EverAg, it's going to be EFC Systems by EverAg is going to be a little tag on their logo going forward. And like he said, they're going to be teaming up with the dairy folks and, be able to cross over into dairy and livestock, as well as agribusiness and ag retail, which is what they've been doing up until now.
Well, it'd be really interesting to see how this plays out. Exciting times for them. I know EFC Systems has been a really good connection for CropLife and Meister Media over the years. So again, good for them, and we're excited to see where this goes.
Yeah. And as I said, they had some educational tracks. One of the things that actually kind of closed the event was a panel discussion talking about ag technology and current events going on in the ag retail space. And the panel discussion, here they are. I'm going to give you a clip here showing the 4 individuals who were up on stage talking about supply chain issues and ag technology adoption. So this was a little interesting exchange between the 4 participants. So enjoy this as well.
What are you seeing when you're having conversations with some of the retailers? What are they doing from an innovation perspective, or what sort of techniques or tactics are they doing to try and manage or mitigate the implications of some of this supply chain challenge and shortages of product?
Well, thanks for starting with a really easy question. So relative to things like glyphosate supply, I see Alan Brady in the back of the corner, and he's brewing some glyphosate in his garage, right? Do you have trainload quantities yet available? That's right. Good. So there's one source. Seriously, there is no one single answer to availability and access to these products. Brad mentioned yesterday that there's probably hundreds of chemicals that are on allocation, and so you can place an order today and you don't know what you're going to get, when you're going to get it, if you're going to get it, and what it's going to cost when it gets there. So it's pretty hard to manage in a situation like that. But imagine if a farmer tried to do that without their retailer. And that's where I think the real story is here, is that you have the expertise and the contacts to find it if it exists, to find a plan B or a plan C or a plan D if necessary, if the product that they want doesn't show up. And so I think it's a great opportunity for retailers to really demonstrate the value to the customer of the support, the expertise, the logistics, the management that you can provide to them. So that maybe kind of talking around the question a bit, Shane, But, you know, I've not come across anybody who said, wow, this is the strategy to make this work.
Yeah, and then that's totally fair. It's definitely a tough situation, and just wanted to see if there was something that was potentially moving the needle a little bit. And, you know, maybe with that, and the answer might be the exact same, Ryan, but I'm curious if at Frontier Co-op you've noticed anything, or there's been something that's helped support you and your team, or how even the messaging to your staff has changed in terms of how to manage the conversation with the farmer, that sort of thing.
So, yeah, I don't envy the job of our procurement team at Frontier. I mean, they've got a really difficult task in front of them for the foreseeable future. But one thing that we've been doing at Frontier over the last few years, and even prior to the unification, was farm plans. So it's not that farm plan, I mean, again, the last 2 years we've been going through some change, but we're bringing that idea forward with all of our sales team, and that's something that our procurement team is very anxious for us to do more of with our customers, just so that they can forecast a little bit better about what products they're going to need. But that takes a lot of education, not just for our sales staff, but really a mindset change for our customers. To go to them in June and start talking about what they need for the next growing season when they just planted their crop for this year. You kind of get some looks sometimes if they're not kind of prepped for that conversation. So I don't know if it's we just got lucky or what, but I mean, we've been thinking about this for a few years, but it's definitely, given the current climate with procuring our products that we need, has definitely been a renewed focus for us, and it's hopefully going to be obviously beneficial to us at Frontier, but for our customers as well, so they get the products that they want. I mean, they can probably change plans and go to that second or third product, but if we get them that first choice, that's kind of our goal.
Nice. No, that's a great message. I think when it comes down to it, just controlling what you can control, or controlling the controllables around it, I think is a good takeaway. And to your point, I mean, sometimes you got to be lucky in situations as well too. So that's really great to hear. And Brad, I'll maybe give you the last word if you have any additional comments or thoughts on that subject.
Well, I think Darren and Brian both said it well. I would agree. It's funny. The one thing that's not going to change once we get through supply chain disruption is the need to forecast. And I truly believe that, you know, there's been incentives around forecasting with suppliers for a while, and it all starts with a farm plan, right? And to Ryan's point is, retailers, when they forecast with suppliers, they're like, okay, here's what the people did last year, here's what my business is growing or shrinking, and you kind of had to do this. So I think that's a best practice, is putting farm plans together with the growers, and hopefully in this kind of environment they'll see the benefit to doing so, where we've always bailed them out in the past. So that's one thing for sure. And I also think just it gets back to a comment I made yesterday. This is an opportunity to be proactive with your customers on versus them bugging you all the time. Hey, what's going on? Some sort of proactive plan, at least with your top 20% that do 80% of the business. And so I think it's a real opportunity, whether it's alternative recommendations or just here's where things stand relative to supply.
So that's what the panelists had to say about the supply chain issue here in 2022, and how ag technology may help the situation as we go forward throughout the year. But again, the bottom line, Richard, is the big takeaway is that these issues we're dealing with in the marketplace are not expected to alleviate anytime soon, and I'm sure the Russian-Ukraine situation probably won't make it any easier.
No, and I think, pandemic has been the word of the last 2 years, and I think supply chain is going to be what we look back on 2022 as we get into the future.
Yep. So one of the other speakers was my friend Ken Zuckerberg from CoBank at the EFC Systems Summit. And he was talking about a renewable diesel product. I guess, they've been playing with biodiesel for a while, which is made from soybean oil, of course. But biodiesel is, it's a little hard to handle. It doesn't really play well in engines when it gets overly cold. You need to retrofit engines as you work with it. So it hasn't really taken off in a big way. But this renewable diesel they have now, I guess it behaves just like regular diesel, except it's made from vegetable oil and soybean oil in particular. And it looks like you can use it. You can go through a regular diesel pipeline and you don't have to retrofit a diesel engine to utilize it. So, and, Ken mentioned that, there's high hopes between now and 2024 that there's going to be quite a bit of this renewable diesel coming into the marketplace. And he pointed out that if all the projects that are currently being proposed actually come to fruition between now and 2024, that this product alone would utilize 98% of the current soybean production. I didn't catch if that was of the US or the world, but again, given that, he basically said in the US that we may start to see a shift from what has always been the king crop, corn, to soybean, as there becomes more money gets involved in soybeans and more companies get behind this renewable diesel. And he mentioned the fact that, the energy companies are kind of driving this. And as if on cue, I got a press release this morning announcing that our friends at Bunge, who do, of course, oil seed processing, and Chevron have decided to form a joint venture where they're going to be working on a renewable fuels development together. And see if I can find my note here. So, okay, and this was the quote. Chevron expects to create the capacity to produce 100,000 barrels per day of renewable diesel and sustainable aviation fuel by 2030. And that was coming from Mark Nelson, the Executive Vice President of Downstream and Chemicals for Chevron. By taking this first step in securing a predictable supply of renewable feedstocks in partnership with Bunge, we are positioning ourselves to meet that goal and supply our transportation customers with lower life cycle carbon intensity fuel. So again, that's what the folks at Chevron are saying about this partnership. But again, it'll be interesting to see what type of a fundamental shift might happen when it comes to row crops in the United States going forward, and exactly how quickly everybody makes the transition, I suppose.
For sure, corn and cotton as well. I'm assuming that might be in play there too.
Yep. So again, we'll have to keep an eye on that. But yes, you heard it here first, I suppose. Renewable diesel, it's a coming.
Well, quick question for you as our resident equipment, big equipment expert here at Meister Media. And we've talked about this a little bit in the past, but what do you see as are you hearing anything about electric vehicles, the possibility of developments? We're looking at sustainable fuels here, which is a great development, but even looking farther down the road, are these big equipment companies looking at the possibility of electric developments?
Yeah, I'm sure, Richard, that they are looking at it. And I know I've seen some examples of electric vehicles at trade shows over the last couple of years, but I haven't heard any widespread movement like, like the consumer automobile industry. There are some states I know, like California, that have mandated you got to have electric vehicles. So it's like, it seems like that push has happened pretty rapidly, but agriculture is not following that at this point. They're looking to utilize the equipment that's out there. And again, that's the one thing they like about this renewable diesel product, because you don't have to do any retrofitting. It can go right in the engines of the equipment that's already out there that people already own, and they don't have to worry about doing anything different or special or maybe more expensive on the side to make it work. So
definitely the immediate impact we'll be looking at for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, Richard, I guess you have a trip coming up too, if you want to give it one last shout out before you head off.
Yeah, next week we'll be in Monterey, California for the BioControls USA Conference and Expo. Again, it's a great venue to come learn about what's happening, the latest developments, the new products that are coming out, new technologies and techniques particularly for specialty crops, but just ag in general. So if you're interested, check out biocontrolsconference.com, and we'd love to see you out there.
Yeah, and again, we'll have you on a video here in a week or two, and we can talk all about what was said there, and you can give me your takeaways. That'll be kind of interesting.
Absolutely, looking forward to it.
All right. Well, now, of course, time for your favorite segment of the show. Time for fun with numbers.
I've been getting a lot of clamoring from the hordes that watch this, that they would love to see multiple choice answers.
Yeah, I noted that you've been forwarding me some of those emails. I will work on getting us a multiple choice, but obviously I didn't have time to adapt for this week's video for that. So this is just going to be the old format for now, but we'll work on something. I'm sure we can come up with a multiple choice. One of these days, we may even be able to do this live and have people sending us their votes after the fact. I'm sure our videographer just probably fainted when I said that. So.
Sorry, Tyler.
But okay, Richard, your number this week is 3 billion. And I'll let you know that that is not the number of single ladies I've asked out in the last 6 years that have said no to me. That number would be higher. But 3 billion is your number. And your clue would be weeds and invasive species in the United States. So given that clue and the number of 3 billion, what do you think we're talking about here?
Oh, boy, that's weeds and invasive species. You know, I'm all about invasive species. That's one of the few answers on these I got right. 3 billion, would that be the total worldwide impact, economic impact of weeds and invasive species on agriculture?
No, I'm sorry, Richard. That actually, and this wasn't a dollar amount. That the economic impact is much higher than 3 billion. But I know the thing that's fascinated me over the years, of course, is just I know that everybody every year struggles trying to control all these resistant weeds, invasive weeds in the fields and crop fields in the U.S. And somebody at the EFC Systems event showed a slide where they had put up how many pounds of herbicide are applied annually to try to control these resistant and invasive weed species. And the number was 3 billion pounds. So I thought that was a fascinating number to share with our viewers.
That's an eye opener right there. Wow. 3 billion.
3 billion pounds. So there you go.
I don't feel bad about missing that one. That was.
Yeah, it was a tough one, but it was still interesting to share. So
very much.
All right. Well, Richard, I hope you have fun at the BioControl Conference, and you give us enough update on that. I know I'm going to be on the road again next week as well, but I'll tell you more about that next week, everybody, if you're curious. But thanks for joining us this week. Hope you have a great weekend and week, and we will talk to you again real soon. If you have questions or comments about today's episode of Retail Week, contact us by email or Twitter, or type your message in the comment section below. Your feedback is important to us. We will try our best to address your thoughts in next week's episode, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel.